In the heart of New York, inside a mansion worth billions, a secret unfolded that no one could have ever imagined. A powerful billionaire, known for his ruthless business moves, walked into his nursery one quiet afternoon, only to find his black maid cradling his infant daughter. But it wasn't the sight that froze him, it was what she was doing. She was breastfeeding his child. For a moment, time stood still, and what happened next would leave the world stunned. The camera drifts through the golden hallways of a mansion, sunlight spilling across marble floors, as if the house itself was untouched by struggle. Behind the grand walls lived a man named Richard Hale, a billionaire whose name shook the markets but left emptiness in his own home. He had power, influence, and everything money could buy, except the one thing he needed most. His wife was gone, leaving behind a fragile daughter he barely knew how to hold. And while the world saw Richard as unbreakable, in his quiet hours he was haunted by a question. How do you raise a child when your own heart feels so hollow? The lens shifts to the servants' quarters, where Angela moves softly, her footsteps careful against polished floors that never belonged to her. She was a woman who carried invisible scars, the kind that silence couldn't hide. Years before, she had lost her only child, a grief that never healed. Every time she touched a toy or folded the little dresses in the nursery, she felt her wound tear open. Yet she kept working, because survival left her no choice. But what happens when grief collides with an unexpected responsibility? The shot tightens on Angela's hands as she rocks the crying infant in the dim glow of the nursery lamp. The baby's wails grew sharper, echoing through the vast, empty halls, as though begging for comfort that no one else could give. Angela's eyes filled with tears, and in that desperate moment, instinct overcame fear. She knew what she was about to do could cost her everything: her job, her dignity, even her freedom. Still, she pressed forward, because a deeper voice whispered, "If not me, then who will save this child tonight?" The frame cuts to Richard's office door creaking open, his heavy steps crossing the silence like thunder. He had been restless, disturbed by the unending cries piercing the house. Each sound reminded him of his failures, of a father he had never learned to be. His brow tightened as he walked toward the nursery, his mind already boiling with anger. Why couldn't the maid calm her? Why was this house, despite its beauty, always filled with a noise he could not silence? But he had no idea what image awaited him when he turned the corner and stepped inside. The chandelier above the nursery shimmered faintly, its crystals catching the glow of the night lamps as Richard froze in the doorway. His eyes narrowed, breath caught halfway, unable to believe the scene unraveling before him. Angela sat in the rocking chair, her arms around his daughter, and the sight struck him harder than any deal gone wrong. His daughter's small hand rested against Angela's chest, her cries now silenced, replaced by a fragile peace that Richard himself had never managed to give. For a moment his rage boiled, but just beneath it, another question rose. Was it betrayal, or something far more complicated? The camera pushes closer to Angela's trembling face, beads of sweat running down her temple as she realized she'd been caught. Her heart thundered, knowing she had crossed a line no maid should ever dare. She wanted to explain, to defend herself, but the words jammed in her throat. Should she beg for mercy or admit the truth about the child she lost? Every second of silence stretched like a rope tightening around her neck, and the weight of Richard's stare made her wonder if this single act of compassion had just destroyed her future. The lens sweeps to Richard's clenched fists, his knuckles white against the darkness, his jaw locked like stone. Memories of his wife abandoning him poured in. Her harsh words, her cold eyes, the emptiness she left behind. Now another woman, not his wife, not his blood, held the only piece of his world that mattered. Was it theft? Was it love? He could barely separate the two. His pulse raged with anger, but beneath it was something else, something he hadn't felt in years, a vulnerability he refused to show. What choice would he make in the storm of emotions? The shot widens to the nursery walls, where portraits of past Hales stared down from their frames, silent judges of legacy and bloodline. Richard felt the weight of his ancestry pressing on his chest, whispering what he should do. Cast her out, make her pay, guard the family name. Yet as his daughter sighed softly in Angela's arms, a warmth touched the room that even the portraits couldn't deny. His lips parted, but no words came. Would he follow the cold path of his forefathers, or break from the chains that bound his family for generations? The frame tightens again on the baby's face, her tiny mouth releasing a sigh, her head resting gently against Angela as though she had found the only heartbeat she trusted. Richard's anger flickered, unsteady, battling with the raw truth before his eyes. This wasn't rebellion. This wasn't defiance. It was survival. Still, the silence was unbearable, every second stretching longer, sharper, deadlier. He took a step forward, his shadow looming over both woman and child. And in that fragile pause, Angela braced for the words that would decide her fate. The camera lingers on Richard's shadow stretching across the nursery floor, swallowing the soft light around Angela. Her arms tighten protectively around the child, as if instinctively shielding her from a storm about to erupt. Richard's breath was sharp, ragged, caught between fury and disbelief. Yet his eyes betrayed something deeper, a fracture in the mask he wore before the world. He opened his mouth, but instead of the outburst Angela braced for, silence spilled into the room. Was it possible that beneath his power and rage, there was a man trembling with something far more dangerous than anger? The shot drifts upward to Richard's eyes glistening, though he refused to blink. Memories surged. The night his wife left, the emptiness of the crib, the nights of helplessness he covered with work and whiskey. Now this woman, this maid, had given his daughter the one comfort he could not. It shook him, it weakened him, and he hated the truth it revealed. Should he punish her for crossing the line? Or admit that without her, his daughter's cries would never end? The weight of the answer pressed on him like chains, but his lips still refused to speak. The focus shifted to Angela's trembling hand, stroking the baby's back, her heart pounding against her ribs as if it would burst. She knew this moment could end her life as she knew it. If he called the police, who would believe her? If he fired her, where would she go? Yet her eyes locked onto his, filled not with defiance but with grief he seemed to recognize. Could it be that two broken souls had collided in the strangest of ways? And if so, what future could possibly emerge from that collision? The angle widens to capture the nursery in full. Golden walls, velvet curtains, the silent gaze of portraits, and in the center, 3 lives caught in a fragile stillness. The baby stirred, releasing a faint sound, and Richard's body flinched. His fists slowly loosened, his shoulders dropped, as if the weight of anger drained away. But what would replace it? Acceptance or rejection, compassion or cruelty? For the first time in years, Richard felt his heart cracking open, and yet even he could not predict what words would escape his throat when he finally spoke. The camera slowly fades to the billionaire lowering himself into the chair across from Angela, his face carved with conflict, but his voice trembling with something unfamiliar. Mercy. He did not dismiss her. He did not rage. Instead, he whispered words that neither of them expected. From that night forward, the house was never the same. The whispers of society grew louder, and his family's legacy trembled under his decision. But the question remained, had Richard truly defied the world for love and humanity? Or had he only just begun a battle he could never win? In a world divided by race, wealth, and power, sometimes the smallest act of love can break every wall. And this billionaire, once feared for his cold heart, proved that compassion is stronger than prejudice. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.